What's up, you guys? It's Mrs. Invest. Welcome to another video in the forest where we talk about saving, investing, and financial independence. Now it's getting cooler here, so I'm trying to get out as much as possible. I've got the sweater on. I guess I can't really complain though because it's snowing in Calgary. Moment of silence for them. Okay, and today I'm going to talk about how I save 80% of my income and why savings rate is so important. So let's get right into the video. I'm going to get into everything from how much I make every month, how much I save, and what I spend my money on, and how I'm able to do it. But before we get into that, let's talk about a couple concepts first that allowed me to get to this point in the first place. So what is a savings rate? It's a very simple formula, and you can look at it either by month or by year, and it's the amount of money you save divided by the amount of money that you make. Your savings rate, along with the age that you start saving, has the biggest impact on when you can become financially independent and how much money you can spend once you start living off of those investments. If you start saving early in life, then you have the years of compounding on your side, so you can put away less money per month to reach a certain dollar value. But if you start saving later in life, you've lost those years of compounding, so you have to put away more money every month to reach that same dollar amount. Now, if you start saving early in life and you save as much as possible, that is really the golden goose, and that is what I've been doing and what I'm continuing to do. Savings rate is so important because it's the one aspect of your financial plan that you actually have control over. You can't control what the market is going to return that year, but you can control how much you save relative to how much you make. This chart shows how many years you'll have to work to reach financial independence based on your savings rate. And you can see the effect is pretty dramatic as you start to increase your savings rate. If you're young, the best place to focus your efforts is on your savings rate. And the second concept is something that I like to call the spending to happiness ratio. I think for everybody, there's a certain cutoff amount of spending that if you were to decrease your spending any more below that, it would really start to negatively affect your quality of life and your mental health. So for example, if you are saving 65% of your income, and that's sort of the maximum you can save while still being able to enjoy your life, if you bump that savings rate up to 70% just for the purpose of saving extra money, but it started to really negatively affect you, I don't think that extra 5% of savings is worth it for you in the long term. But on the other hand, I think all of us have certain expenses that don't really add anything to our quality of life in a meaningful way. And if you're looking to grow your wealth, those are things that you can cut out of your budget in order to increase your savings rate. So everybody always wants to know exactly how you do something. So here we go, how I save 80% of my income and what I spend my money on. So my total net income every month from my career after taxes is $9,000. Now, honestly, I debated even including this information. I really didn't want to, but I feel like you can't really get a good picture of someone's savings rate unless they're actually telling you what they're spending their money on and how much they make. And you might be saying, well, of course it's easy for you to save a lot because you have a lot of disposable income. And to a certain extent, I would disagree with that because when you're at a higher income level, there's an expectation that society puts on you and your friends and your family to spend a lot of money on your lifestyle. And if you don't spend as much as people expect you to, people either think there's something wrong with you or that you're cheap. No one will ever say, oh, well, they must be working towards financial independence. But if you're living large and balling and spending 100% of your income, Rolex, cars, boats, houses, no one ever bats an eyelash and they're like, cool, that person must have a lot of money. And so as your income increases, the harder it is to not spend that extra money because everybody expects you to. I spent 8 years in university learning a really niche skill, and in my career, I'm using that really niche skill. So that's where my income comes from right now. Each month, I immediately put $7,000 of that $9,000 into investment accounts, and I split that up between the tax-free account, my retirement account, and my non-registered or taxable accounts. So that's right, I live on $2,000 a month, and it's usually less than that, but let's do a breakdown. And the first way I save 80% of my income is through free activities like hitting the like button. So if you would just give the like button a little click, that would mean a lot to me. It helps out the channel a lot, but let's really get into it now. So the first thing is living expenses. I live in a low cost of living city in Canada, and I moved here from high cost of living Toronto. So the total of my living expenses, which includes my rent, utilities, and underground parking, which if you're from Canada, you know that you will pay any amount of money per month to not have to scrape off ice off your car in the morning. All of that comes to about $770 per month, which I split with my partner. When I ran the numbers on what my monthly baseline cost of living, and I'm talking bare bones cost of living, would be in Toronto compared to a low cost of living city, I just couldn't justify the difference in cost living in Toronto, especially early in my career, where every dollar I invest now is going to compound dramatically compared to any dollar that I invest 5 years from now or 10 years from now or 15 years from now. And it's not just housing that's more expensive in Toronto. Whenever you live in a dense city, there's a higher likelihood that you're going to get into an accident, so car insurance costs way more. And I know some people paying $300 to $400 a month in Toronto in car insurance because they're young and drive a fancy car. And that was a nice segue into the next point, which is car. Now, honestly, it's best to not have a car. They're probably the biggest depreciating asset that most people spend money on in their lifetime, other than maybe a boat. So if you live in a city with really good public transportation and it's a very walkable city and you can live near a grocery store, that would definitely be the way to go. But where I live, you really need a car. And so what I did is I bought a used car under market value near the end of its depreciation lifestyle. It's a 2012 model and I bought it 3 years ago. So my monthly car payment is $0 and I spend about $70 a month on car insurance. I've had this car for 3 years and it's still selling for pretty close to what I initially paid for it. It's a really reliable car with an archaic, tried and true engine and transmission. It's a very simple machine. There's no fancy electronics. And when it does break down, the parts are really cheap and any mechanic can work on it. And when I go to sell the car, I probably will be able to sell it for not much less than what I bought it for initially. And car insurance here in this low cost of living city is so low because there's really low population density, so you're statistically not as likely to get into a car accident. Had I bought a new car, even if I got a really good deal on the car payment per month and the interest rate, I would have been the one eating all the depreciation when I eventually go to sell the car, and my car insurance would have been a lot higher every single month. And the other thing about used cars is they come pre-scratched, pre-dented, and pre-dinged up. So if I scratch it or bump it or do something to it, I don't really care because it's used. And the third expense for me is travel. Now I realize that this may not be a big expense for everyone, but for me it is. And this is one area where I just refuse to sacrifice. And again, it comes back down to this spending to happiness ratio that I was talking about. For me, there's just something so free about being able to go anywhere, wherever I want. But travel is extremely expensive, especially if your currency is weaker than the place that you're going. So for example, here in Canada, traveling to the USA on any trip is 1.25 times as expensive due to currency conversion. So a $100 hotel for an American is a $125 hotel for me, and that really starts to add up. So there's 3 main ways that I help to reduce the cost of my travel. I guess you can call this Mrs. Invest's 3-pronged approach to not going broke as a traveler. Let's just go with that. Now, I feel really silly saying this, but it is true, it's what I do, so I guess I have to include it, is I refuse to travel spending my earned income. If you watched my last video, I'll leave a link to it down below. I talked about how your earned income is a really inefficient way to grow your money. And so what I do is I only travel using the money that my investments make me. So let's say I made $10,000 in capital gains, that will go into my travel fund. If you think about it, when you're working a job, travel drains money very quickly because while you're traveling, not only are you not working and therefore not making money, but while you're traveling, you're also spending way more money than you would per day normally when you think about the flight and the hotel and food and entertainment. And so by not spending my earned income on travel, it sort of takes care of this because I'm only spending the money that my money makes me. At first, of course, it wasn't possible, but as your portfolio grows and you start making more passive income, you can actually start to do things with that income, and it's a really beautiful thing, honestly. And that allows me then to spend more of my money that I'm earning at my income and funnel it directly into assets instead of spending it on travel. And I'll keep my eye out for travel reward credit card promotions. So something like spend so much money per month for the first 3 months and get a couple $100s towards a flight. And usually I don't have trouble getting an extra credit card because I pay off all my statements every month, and so I will usually get approved for them. But it also has the nice side benefit of helping to improve my credit score because I have all this available credit that I'm not using. And my third tip for traveling is not to travel during peak season. So because I don't have kids and I can travel whenever I want, I really avoid traveling during high season that costs sometimes double for the same trip if you think about like March break and Christmas time. And this is a huge savings, and I really try and travel during low season for the destination that I'm going to. And so just to add to the tally, my travel budget is $0 because I'm not actually spending any of my earned income on travel. And the next category is food, and this is another one that I don't scrimp on either. You cannot have wealth without health. I am not going to be eating 50-cent packaged ramen just to save money. What's the point of accumulating funds if you're just going to be left sick and diseased when you get older? So I spend as much money as I think I need to in order to eat a healthy diet, lots of fruit and vegetables. Usually this runs me $300 to $400 per month, and it does vary depending on the time of year, of course, and what's in season. I remember one time last year where there was some big disease in cauliflower, and the ones that did survive were like $10 a head. So, I try to be reasonable. I didn't buy cauliflower that day. And I think whatever I do spend on quality food is definitely money well spent. And my food budget is a combination of mostly eating at home with going out here and there. I pretty much don't buy drinks or alcohol outside except for special occasions. And the next thing is entertainment. Now, due to the unfriendly microscopic invader, I'm pretty sure this has gone down to $0 for most of us, but usually it's about $100 a month for me. And then the miscellaneous category, like spending on my dog, gas for the car, miscellaneous stuff, that's usually about another $300 to $400 a month. So if we add up all those categories, I think we're at about $1,600 to $1,700 a month out of the $2,000. And that's exactly how I think about it. I give myself $2,000 a month to live on. The other $7,000 doesn't exist to me. It is not money that I can spend on my lifestyle right now. However, that is money that I will use to fund my lifestyle later in life. The only difference is that $7,000 is going to turn into way more money when I need to draw down on it later. And so that's how I do it. That's how I save 80% of my income. Like I said, it's not a magic trick. It's just keeping expenses low and saving as much as possible. Let me know in the comments how you guys save money and any tips that you use that are kind of creative that maybe most people don't think about. I would love to hear about them. And if you want to see more videos, I've got lots more coming related to saving, investing, and financial independence. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss another video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.